Everyone thinks Beyoncé became a billionaire by singing, but the truth is far more ruthless. In just 2 years, she brought in $600 million from one stadium tour, then another $450 million from her mini residency shows. Yet most of that fortune comes from Parkwood Entertainment, a company she owns outright, capturing the back-end economics and keeping the profits. If music's biggest superstar made her $1.2 billion fortune without splitting profits, what is the playbook? No one else is following. The answer: rewrites everything you think you know about celebrity wealth. Renaissance World Tour shattered expectations before a single dollar from Parkwood ever hit Beyoncé's accounts. Billboard and Forbes clocked the 2023 run at $600 million in gross revenue, making it the highest-grossing tour by a black artist and one of the top 10 in music history. Stadiums from Stockholm to Houston sold out night after night, with ticket prices averaging over $200 and VIP packages pushing totals even higher. Fans lined up for hours, not just for seats, but for exclusive merchandise, which pulled in more than $50 million on top of ticket sales. The tour's spectacle drew global headlines, but the real payday came from scale and efficiency. With 56 shows across 39 cities, Beyoncé's team moved a traveling city, dozens of custom LED screens, a full orchestra, and a crew that sometimes topped 300 people. Every night pushed production limits, and also maximized revenue per show. Each stop grossed an average of $10 million. Industry insiders estimated that the Renaissance concert film, released directly to theaters, brought in another $44 million at the box office. As producer and owner, Beyoncé pocketed nearly half of those receipts, bypassing the usual studio cuts. By 2025, the numbers kept stacking. Forbes listed Beyoncé as the third highest-paid musician in the world, with $148 million in annual pre-tax earnings. That figure included not just touring and film, but royalties from a music catalog now valued at roughly $300 million, and a handful of sponsorships that she selected with surgical precision. No female artist had ever headlined an all-stadium tour before she did it in 2016, a milestone that set the template for her later stadium dominance. Every cash stream pointed in the same direction. Beyoncé was not just collecting checks, she was building a financial runway few artists could match. The raw numbers: $600 million in tour gross, $44 million from film, and $148 million in a single year, offered proof of firepower. But scale alone did not explain how she kept so much of it. Underneath the spectacle, a different model was running, one built on ownership, control, and a refusal to split profits with middlemen. That is where Parkwood Entertainment enters the story. Parkwood Entertainment began quietly, but its impact on Beyoncé's fortune is anything but subtle. Founded in 2010, Parkwood is not just a production company, it is the engine that lets her keep what most artists give away. By building her own firm from the ground up, Beyoncé took on every role: producer, manager, financier, and owner. Every album, every film, every tour since then flows through Parkwood, bypassing the usual maze of outside handlers and profit shares. Traditional artists split their earnings at every turn. Managers, record labels, and promoters each take their cut, sometimes leaving the star with less than a third of the money their work brings in. Parkwood flips that script. By fronting the costs for everything from music videos to stadium shows, Beyoncé assumes more risk, but she also captures the rewards. Industry estimates say this approach lets her keep 70 to 85% of every dollar generated, compared to the 30 or 40% most artists see. It is a playbook built on vertical integration, with in-house A&R, creative, logistics, and digital teams all reporting to her, not to outside investors. The numbers tell the story. Forbes credits Parkwood with contributing around $400 million to Beyoncé's net worth by 2025. The company annual revenue hovers near $87 million, but its value comes from more than cash flow. It is the control. Parkwood owns the masters for every Beyoncé album released since 2013, which means streaming royalties and licensing fees flow directly to her. That catalog alone is now valued at roughly $300 million, forming a steady stream of income that does not depend on touring or endorsements. Beyoncé's 2013 surprise album release, done entirely through Parkwood, set a new standard for artist independence. No leaks, no label meddling, just a direct drop that changed how music gets to fans. The logic is simple. If you own the product, you own the upside. In 2013, Beyoncé explained it herself. She said, "When I decided to manage myself, it was important that I did not go to some big management company. I felt like I wanted to follow the footsteps of Madonna and be a powerhouse and have my own empire and show other women. When you get to this point in your career, you do not have to go sign with someone else and share your money and your success. You do it yourself. Ownership matters. Parkwood's structure is built for scale. Every major tour, film, and business venture runs through the company, letting Beyoncé capture back-end profits that would otherwise be lost to outside promoters or studios. Even her partnerships like the $160 million Netflix and Disney deals are structured so she retains ownership of the content. When a tour rolls out, Parkwood fronts the production costs and collects the majority of the profits on the back end. That is why when Beyoncé headlines a stadium or drops a visual album, the lion's share of the money stays in her pocket. This is not just about making more, it is about keeping more. Parkwood is the backbone that turns Beyoncé from global superstar into a business operator. The company's design lets her weather failures, double down on hits, and build wealth that lasts beyond the next album cycle. For Beyoncé, the real power is not just in her voice, it is in owning every piece of what she creates. Cowboy Carter's mini-residency model rewrote the rulebook for stadium touring. Instead of crisscrossing the globe with dozens of one-night stops, Beyoncé's team concentrated 32 shows into just 9 stadiums. This was not about playing fewer gigs, it was about making every move count. Each stadium became a week-long headquarters, with Parkwood's logistics crew transforming the space for a run of back-to-back performances. The numbers behind the scenes tell the story. More than 350 crew members handled everything from lighting grids to wardrobe changes, supported by a fleet of 100 semi-trucks loaded with custom staging, LED screens, and props. 8 Boeing 747 cargo planes hauled the entire production between continents, but with fewer jumps than a standard tour. By anchoring in one city for multiple nights, Parkwood could spread the enormous setup costs, including rigging, staging, and sound, across several shows instead of resetting from scratch every night. This approach slashed variable costs. Trucking bills dropped as equipment stayed put for days at a time. Crew overtime and travel expenses shrank, since fewer people needed to be flown in and out between cities. Even aircraft charters became more efficient, with fewer long-haul flights and better bulk rates for moving gear in larger loads. Venue rental fees, normally a major expense, were negotiated down through multi-night deals that gave stadiums guaranteed sellouts and Parkwood volume discounts. The real trick was amortization. Every dollar spent on setup, lighting, or local labor got divided by 4, 5, or even 6 shows at a single stadium. Instead of paying for 32 full-scale setups, Parkwood paid for 9, and those savings stacked up fast. Industry insiders estimate that this residency model cut per-show production costs by as much as 50% compared to traditional routing. The result? More margin on every ticket sold, more profit from every piece of merchandise, and a tour that could afford spectacle without bleeding money on logistics. For Beyoncé, the real magic was not just in the performance, it was in turning operational efficiency into a financial engine. Cowboy Carter's financial muscle came from one thing: ownership of every dollar flowing in the door. When the stadium lights came up, Parkwood was not just collecting a star's paycheck, it was capturing the entire back end. Ticket sales alone hit $400 million across 32 shows, with fans paying premium prices for a seat at the spectacle. But the real surprise was the merchandise table. Limited edition jackets, vinyl, and tour drops racked up another $50 million, nearly $1.6 million per night just from merch. Every item, every VIP upgrade, every fan who bought a second hoodie because it was their only chance, all of it ran through Parkwood's in-house machine. That is where the numbers break away from the industry standard. Most artists see half their tour money vanish before it ever hits their bank account. Promoters, managers, and outside merch vendors each take a slice, sometimes leaving the performer with just 30 or 40 cents on the dollar. Beyoncé's model flips the script. By fronting production costs and negotiating directly with venues, Parkwood captured 80 to 85% of total revenue. On $450 million in gross, that is as much as $380 million flowing straight to Beyoncé's company, more than double what a superstar would keep under the old system. Industry analysts now point to touring as the main engine for artists' fortunes, with 75 to 90% of top earners' annual income coming from live shows. That is a seismic change from the days when record sales or radio play paid the bills. Parkwood's approach puts Beyoncé in a different league. She is not just performing, she is running the business that sells the tickets, the shirts, and the streaming rights. Every time a stadium fills up, she is not only the face on stage, but the owner of the cash register. The Cowboy Carter tour proved what happens when an artist owns the back end. Parkwood's profit share dwarfed traditional models, and the efficiency of the mini residency meant more margin on every dollar. With $450 million in revenue, and the lion's share staying in-house, Beyoncé turned a world tour into a profit machine. The lesson is clear. In today's music business, the real money is not just in the show. It is in owning the show from start to finish. Profits from touring did not just sit idle. They became the seed money for a disciplined portfolio of brands, each chosen for long-term potential or cut loose when the numbers stopped adding up. Take Cécred, Beyoncé's prestige haircare line. Launched into the crowded beauty market, Cécred broke through with strong Ulta sales and a loyal fan base, quickly earning a reputation as a real contender, not just another celebrity label. Parkwood's resources gave Cécred a launchpad most startups could only dream of, and early returns suggest it is on track to become a core wealth builder in her empire. Sir Davis Whiskey took a different route, debuting as part of the Cowboy Carter Tour's spectacle. Instead of a quiet shelf launch, Sir Davis became a talking point when a robotic arm poured shots for the crowd, an activation that blurred the line between concert and product placement. The result was instant buzz, growing traction in the spirits market, and a direct link between Beyoncé's music and her merchandise. Every bottle sold is another proof point that Parkwood's approach turns marketing into equity. Not every venture survived the cut. Ivy Park, Beyoncé's athletic wear brand, started with high hopes in 2016 through a Topshop partnership, then moved to Adidas in 2020. But after a 50% revenue decline and creative clashes, she pulled the plug in 2024. The message was clear: capital gets redeployed to winners, not sunk into nostalgia. Parkwood's discipline meant Beyoncé retained the intellectual property, leaving the door open for a future reboot, but only on her terms. Even short-term deals are chosen for their strategic fit. In 2025, Beyoncé landed a $10 million Levi's partnership that drove a double-digit spike in women's denim sales and generated $65 million in media value for the brand. That same year, her Christmas Day NFL halftime show brought in an estimated $50 million, one of the biggest single-event payouts in music. Each move reflects a philosophy: own the upside, exit fast when the math turns, and use every dollar earned to build the next opportunity. Jay-Z's portfolio reads more like a Fortune 500 prospectus than a celebrity sideline. Armand de Brignac, the luxury champagne brand he bought into and later sold half to LVMH, anchors his spirits empire with a valuation north of $600 million. Douce Cognac added another $750 million to the mix, after Jay-Z sold a majority stake but kept a lucrative minority share. Tidal, the streaming service he acquired in 2015, started as a bold bet on artist-first economics. While it never rivaled Spotify in scale, the 2021 sale of a controlling stake to Square netted him an estimated $297 million, plus equity in Jack Dorsey's fintech company. But the real genius is in how these assets work together. Jay-Z's brands do not compete with Beyoncé's. They complement and insulate. While Parkwood generates cash from touring and intellectual property, his holdings are rooted in consumer goods, technology, and investments that move independently of the music cycle. If one venture stumbles, another can pick up the slack. This risk-spreading approach is straight out of the private equity playbook. Own enough different businesses so that no single misstep can sink the ship. Beyond spirits and streaming, Jay-Z's reach extends into art, sports, and real estate. He owns stakes in Uber, JetSmarter, and the Brooklyn Nets, and the couple's property portfolio includes multi-million-dollar homes in Bel Air, the Hamptons, and Tribeca. All told, Forbes pegs Jay-Z's net worth at $2.5 billion as of 2025, making him the richest musician in America. Together, Beyoncé and Jay-Z operate less like a traditional power couple and more like a holding company with two CEOs. Her vertical media empire and his diversified assets create a financial ecosystem where each success amplifies the other. It is not just about doubling up on earnings. It is about building a structure where every dollar earned in one corner of the household can be reinvested to grow the whole. That is the architecture behind their $4 billion dynasty. Today, the rules of celebrity wealth are being rewritten in real time. As more artists chase equity over endorsements, Parkwood stands as a blueprint for ownership in the streaming era. The billion-dollar threshold is no longer reserved for business moguls. It is now within reach for those who control their own narrative. The next empire may already be in the making. What would you build if you owned everything?